That has been taken care of. I understand you have some amendments or substitute.
Mr. Chairman, in order to get this in the right place, I'm going to respectfully request that the committee adopt this amendment today to the substitute, and I'd be glad to explain the pieces of that.
Chair will entertain a motion on the substitute. Members of the committee, would you prefer to hear the description of the substitute, or would you rather adopt the substitute at this point? Doug O'Bannon, if you tell us what the substitute is.
Let me do this then, Mr. Chairman, if we're going to go that way. Let me just give you a little deep background and history on this, just to bring us up to where we are today. And I realize you all are very knowledgeable about this and familiar with it. This issue, this problem is a huge problem. You all know the numbers. Our JLARC has studied this. It's 1 in 110 males. And all of the data says that the most benefit from treatment comes in the early years. And so what we've done with this bill is presented to you all what is absolutely the most bang for the buck. You know this came through the Mandated Benefits Commission with a positive recommendation. We had a bill last year. This bill is much scaled down from last year. And the data says that if these kids are treated real early, 50% of them can get significantly better to well, and another 40% can get improvement. The bill you have in front of you is ages 2 to 6. It's got other safeguards in it, and I'll have somebody explain all the other details of it. But I just want to say that this bill will help Virginia solve this problem in a very significant way. We've tried to address the concerns of the insurance industry and the business community. I will just share with you that there's a fellow named Tom Alexander. He's a state senator from South Carolina. He's chairman of the Finance Committee. In South Carolina, what they did was they passed a bill that pays for treatment for 3 years. If there's progress made, they stop. This bill is better than that because this bill focuses all of the care to the very early age children. And so I'll get to talk you through the bill. We have some experts here. This young lady is from South Carolina. Come on up and introduce yourself. She's going to briefly talk you through the bill, and she'll be glad to discuss any questions you might have.
Delegate O'Bannon, have we spoken, though, to the proposed amendments to the original legislation that you brought to us? Or is she going to be doing?
She's going to go through the pieces and explain. The key thing I wanted, the others are safeguards. There's a dollar cap in here, there's a percentage in here. What I wanted the point to make to you all is that this puts the money in the first few years to do the most good. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, very quickly, where's the money come from? She's going to tell us?
Well, Johnny, I think I know why you asked me the question. This is a mandated benefit.
Delegate Juwan.
I just want to know where the money came from. Comes from state? Comes from insurance company?
Comes from insurance group.
How much are we raising those premiums?
You're
getting into that?
Yes, sir. That's why I wanted to do, because I think you'll appreciate, we really have put the safeguards in here.
Yes, we'll hear from your representative.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Lori Unum. I'm the parent of an 8-year-old son with autism. I'm also an attorney. I'm formerly senior litigation counsel with the United States Department of Justice. I'm also formerly a law professor at George Washington University Law School. But I gave up my legal career to advocate full-time on behalf of children with autism when I saw the inequity in the insurance arena. So now I am senior policy advisor and counsel with Autism Speaks. And I also teach part-time at GW. I teach a law school class called Autism and the Law. Autism is a medical condition brought on through no fault of the family. It is diagnosed by a medical doctor and treatment is prescribed by a medical doctor. The term autism is actually sort of an imprecise term. And I apologize, you've got non-color copies of my presentation in front of you, and I'll just hold up this color one right here. Some people use the term autism interchangeably with one of the autism spectrum disorders, and other people use it to mean all of the autism spectrum disorders. If you look on this chart, you'll see that actually in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, there's an umbrella category called pervasive developmental disorders that actually encompasses 5 distinct diagnoses. And the 3 that you see in purple here are the autism spectrum disorders. Now, although there's no known cure for autism, it can be treated so that the symptoms are not disabling. A nonverbal child can learn to communicate. A non-social child can be taught social interaction. So while they're not cured, they can overcome the disabling aspects of the condition. The most commonly prescribed treatment protocol involves a therapy called applied behavior analysis, and I know you heard about that last term, ABA therapy for short. This is a therapy that has been used for many decades to treat children with autism, and yet the insurance industry continues to deny coverage for ABA therapy, often on the basis that it is experimental in nature. That conclusion is simply no longer supported by the science. The Surgeon General, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the National Research Council have all endorsed the use of applied behavior analysis, or ABA therapy, for kids with autism. Studies show that if ABA therapy is administered intensively and by properly trained therapists, approximately half of the treated kids will overcome their autistic characteristics to such an extent that they can enter first grade indistinguishable from their peers. Now think about that. The study actually shows 47% get this treatment when they're young, and they go to first grade in a mainstream classroom indistinguishable from their peers. Think about the special education savings to the state. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, ABA must be administered intensively. Often 40 hours per week is what the doctor will prescribe. This, of course, makes it quite expensive. Just to put it in some real dollar figures for you, my own son's autism is severe. He's on the very severe end of autistic disorder, and his therapy has cost us out of pocket $75,000 per year. We have been audited on our taxes 3 times because of this extraordinary medical expense. Now, my husband and I are blessed with good educations and good jobs, and fortunately we've been able to make sacrifices to afford this therapy for our son. We actually sold our house and moved to a less expensive house so that we could provide this therapy. But I ask you, how many Virginia families do you know who could make that kind of sacrifice? Who could come up with even half that much money for their child? Most can't, and those children are going untreated. I think it's sad that in the United States of America, we know of a treatment that works for this disorder, and yet if you're not lucky enough to be born into a wealthy family, you can't get it. It's not only sad, it's unfair, given that these families are paying premiums every month for health insurance. These are families who do what we want families to do. We ask families to go out and buy health insurance to insure against exactly this kind of unforeseen and unprovoked medical disaster. A 2006 study from Harvard shows that the cost of caring for one child over their lifetime who does not get treatment is $3.2 million. Another study for the state of Pennsylvania back in 1988 said that the direct cost savings to the state is over $1 million per child if the child gets this ABA therapy at a young age. Now, you can do the math as well as I can. You've got about 1 in 110 Virginia kids diagnosed with autism. You take the wealthy few, and they're going to get treatment because their parents are going to pay for it. And every remaining child, you multiply by over $1 million. That's how much Virginia taxpayers will shell out if these kids don't get treatment. Unless you think, well, we'll just handle this population in our budget the same way we've always handled it, well, think again, because I'm sure you've heard the prevalence of autism has gone up dramatically in the last several decades. In 1985, it was 1 in 2,500. Now it's 1 in 110. Scientists don't know or agree upon the reasons for the increase, but we all understand the ramifications. There is going to be a huge autism tsunami that is going to hit the state of Virginia, and it's going to cost an extraordinary amount in special education and adult institutionalization costs if these kids don't get the treatment they need. Without insurance playing its part, that's simply not going to happen. Now, to give you some national perspective, faced with this reality, Other states, 15 to be specific, now require